Welcome to Declutter for Change, the podcast where we clear the visible and invisible clutter from your mind, body, soul, and home to make room for the life you actually want to live and love. We are joined by Julieta Duvall to explore how to declutter the shame of being quote-unquote too much and how to use human design to turn your multi-passionate energy into your greatest strength. Welcome, Julieta. How are you?
I am fantastic, Heather. How are you?
I am doing great, and I am really super excited. So I have delved into a little bit of human design back in the day to understand a little bit more of myself. But
yes,
how I'd like to know is, how did you come about learning and being the expert in human design? Did you go to school for this, or was this something that kind of fell into your lap?
a human design came to my life to universe and God, and they said, you need help. So we are going to send some people. They sent two amazing souls into my life back in 2021. So 2020, during the pandemic, I started homeschooling. So we were doing the home education journey. Schools were shut down. People were doing virtual and all of that. And we decided to give homeschooling a try. And I was at the end of the road with it. I was in burnout mode completely. I was upset because my kids were not, and I had two, the boys were here, but my little one was really young. So he was just under a year when the whole pandemic was happening. So I was in the thick of like motherhood, you could say. I had a 5-year-old that was going to go into first grade. So we were transitioning schools. And then I had a 1-year-old, barely. So there was sleep deprivation, and there was all this perfectionism that I felt like I needed to have. Back then there was like the Instagram of homeschools, and everyone looked so happy and baking bread and doing worksheets at the table and all happy and reading. And my kids were not doing any of that. And I'm like,
my kids
why?
are not happy with homeschooling either, so I totally feel you on that one.
Yeah, it was just, so I kept looking, then I started going down the road of self-directed education, unschooling, like freedom to choose your own path. But what was happening to me is that I had never had the actual freedom to follow my own path. So I was really triggered by having to offer these tiny humans the freedom to do something that I never experienced. Right. So here I was, I'm trying to say, yeah, let's just, what are you interested in? And let's just go ahead and do that. But at the same time, I couldn't do what I wanted to do. So I felt like I was, it felt just fake to me. Like I was like, I don't understand. I don't feel this drive to do this. So then I found an unschooling advocate. Her name is Dana Martin, and she's been doing this for about 20 years. So I wanted to learn more about how to facilitate. I wanted to be better at this because I was, like I said, I was at the end of the road. I was in burnout mode. And then in this group, in this container that we were in for about a year, there's two souls. One of them is a reflector, which, if you know anything about human design, there are 5 types, and reflectors are the least common of all. They are less than 1% of the population. So I got introduced to human design by a reflector and a generator who had been doing both unschooling and human design for many years. So I was very lucky to be introduced to this system from people that had already like worked to integrate it, because they kept saying, well, live as a reflector. I'm like, well, what does that mean? So then I started going down the rabbit hole, finding my type and all of that. And I just went deep. I studied with Erin Claire Jones. She's well known in the community as well. And then I studied with Katie Irvine, who is the creator of HG School. And then most recently, I've been with Teresa Rivera, because she blends hypnotherapy and human design. And I really love that blend, because after going through most of my work, I realized that the patterns that were coming out when I was angry or frustrated were from childhood. And they were like they happened so long ago that they were a very small snowball. And then as I went through adulthood and different experiences that made me feel those, feelings of inadequacy and feelings of not feeling worthy and feelings of not really loving myself, they were like wrapping, this snowball got bigger. So I had to like peel the layers to find the root. And I think that's why I'm still drawn to hypnotherapy right now, which is kind of like um where I'm at with it, like human design, hypnotherapy, and then the nervous system regulation. So I've been since 2021. Uh, it's just been a constant for me. And I remember a friend of mine said, maybe you could help families when I first found out about it. I was like, no, 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 no. I just want to do it for myself. But
Yep.
once I kept going, I kept, like diving deeper. I was like, this is magical because it gave me a kinder lens to see myself. And it began this process of understanding that what people were saying that were my weaknesses were actually my greatest strengths. And it brought me to tears the first time I realized that I was a manifesting generator, that I am a manifesting generator, and how the language talks about the multi passionate energy. And
Mm-hmm.
I have
Oh, I
always,
can definitely relate to that for sure.
yeah, and I have always been shamed for that. The whole time I was shamed for having too many coals in the fire and people being completely drained when they actually when I actually share what was happening in my life. They're like, okay, that is just way too much. And I'm like, so
And you
um
realize that that's way too much for them because of
yes.
their design.
Exactly.
Yes.
And it was just mind blowing. So I didn't really started to say like I'm going to go ahead and share this with people, but I was already sharing the transition from like school into homeschooling because of what I went through, right? Because I was acknowledging, and I feel like in the homeschooling world too, there is not enough acknowledgement of how hard it is for parents to do this. Like there's all these romanticized versions of it. And I don't think people are, they don't want to dive into like it's hard because there's already a lot of stigma around it. So people don't want to, rock the boat by saying it can be hard on moms or dads, even the children, because if their design is not if the home environment is not meeting their design, you will find struggles. You will find struggles. For some people, school is actually a better place. It doesn't mean that it's just it's not always bad, but it's just finding what works for you. And that's why I love it so much.
Awesome. Okay, so my question is,
Yeah.
did you learn home design, I was about to say,
Oh yes.
human design for yourself, and did you also learn about your children's
Yes.
design? And yes, and how did you find that once you learn their design and trying to fit in that homeschooling and realizing like now obviously there are so many different avenues for this, but their design working with actually homeschooling versus like the schooling system where I know there's a couple now again, I am very green when it comes to human design, but I know that there are some where it's like the valley and it's what is it where it is like
The
group
environments. Yep.
settings versus
Hmm.
solo settings.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So can you explain that? Like, first of all, explain what those are, like in very, very minuscule, because I'm sure a lot of my listeners are very green themselves and they're just dabbling into it, or let alone they've never even heard of human design.
Yes. So I'll start with, so human design is a system. It came about in the 80s, and it's a mystical, and he just, you go Google the story of human design, it's mystical. So there's no doubt about it. So it blends the Chinese I Ching, the chakra system, astrology, quantum mechanics, and the Kabbalah. So you will need your date of birth. And, once you do all of that, it gives you a body graph. Now, again, just take only what resonates and leave the rest. If it's not for you, that is totally okay. But I am here to say that he saved my life. And I'll tell you why. So once you get your body graph, it's shapes, and it will have colors and white pieces and some lines and some numbers. Don't worry about it. You don't have to understand it all. The key pieces to it is your type, which is how you best use your energy. And there are only 5 types in human design: generators, manifesting generators, manifestors, projectors, and reflectors. And then you have your strategy. Your strategy is about how you feel in alignment. And if you think of a bowling alley, if you are the ball, each side of the rails, one rail is you're in alignment, the other one you're not. I am a manifesting generator, so my signpost for when I'm in alignment is satisfaction and peace. If I am feeling frustrated in life, I can tell you that I am going to go diving into that a little bit deeper because I know that something of what's happening, it's taking me out of alignment. And
Mm-hmm.
and every single type has its own strategy. So for projectors, when they're out of alignment, it's resentment. And alignment is success. Now, I'll say projectors because that is my mom's design.
Mm.
And my mom and I have always had a complicated relationship. Uh, it was hard. But learning her design it helped me see my mom through a different lens and a kinder lens because I think at some points, my mom feels a lot of pressure and that is the combination of the charts. But so you have your type, your strategy, and your authority. So your authority is how you best make decisions. Now, I am here to tell you that you don't have to follow any of it. You don't have to follow it. But if you experiment I have an emotional authority. You said, Heather, you have a sacral authority, right?
Yes. Yep.
So do you resonate with the speed of the sacral saying yes and no?
It's more of, it's not necessarily a yes or no. It's, I have to like it's that
Yes. Yes.
like it's that feeling. It's that vibration of the
Yes.
me going the part,
Yes.
as opposed to just going, yeah, no.
Yes, because you're a generator, which is fantastic. And I love that because when we are children, usually we are told use your words.
Yes.
So some adults will find a disconnection from their sacral because they have been told to use their words. So that it doesn't come out naturally, right? So I have an emotional authority. And what that means is that my emotions have have like a resident spot in my system, and then I am not meant to make decisions from when that resident is in my body, in my soul, in my mind. Once it leaves my body, which is usually 24-hour cycle depending on how big the decision is, then I can start feeling some sort of neutrality about how I feel about something. But like I said, you can experiment because I can tell you the house that we purchased, the house that
Hmm.
we're in right now, my husband and I bought it in the height of an emotional wave. And we had the hardest time. And it was a big decision. We said yes, and we went through the whole process. And it was we later talked about it, but it was a big decision that we made when we should have waited. So it's big. So once you learn those pieces and then you learn the ones for your children, it changed my life because I am a book person. I love reading and I love books and I love museums and I love art. But the way my children learn, it's very different. So you will find in human design, when you get with your body graph, you will see some arrows on the left and then the right, and they will point either direction. Nothing is good and nothing is bad. It's just how you operate. The top left arrow will show you how you digest food and information. And
Mm.
this is when I do children's chart, this is one of the big pieces because it'll show you how you can prepare the environment in your home education journey to fit this dynamic, and not necessarily to fit it, but it gives you a starting point. For example, I have a left arrow, so that's a very structured person. So I need a list of things to do that is not too big, so I don't get overwhelmed because
Yep.
that can happen easy. But my children, they're very much more in the flow. So it doesn't really work well for them to have a list of things to do. What I do know is that, my children are bored. I have a generator and I have a manifesting generator. I know that for my generator child, I just ask questions, yes or no questions, and I will get a guttural sound like you just did. And
Yep.
that's okay, and then I'm okay with that. And what I'm working on right now is to not second guess him because he also has a sacral authority.
Hmm.
So I don't. So I know that I really have to ask myself, is that truly what you want to do? Is it really right for you? But for him, he knows right from the get go whether it's a yes or no. So I am working on not second guessing that. And you will find how you best digest food. That's very important. There's many different combinations that you can start. And that really helps out because sometimes if you have a person that only likes to eat cold foods, they may have a cold digestion where hot foods are really not their thing. So it really just it gives you a lot of information, but it is a foundation to begin experimenting. And that is why I love it because it's not rigid. It's just what you're ready for in that moment. At that moment, what is going to come to help you with whatever you're struggling. I can bet you that you can find a starting point to go to the side of alignment, and that's just why I absolutely love it so much.
Well, and that's so, as we were discussing before we started recording, was I dove into it a little bit because it was something that I was learning for myself. Because
Yes.
again, I find that all of the lists that I have of things that I've done, human design was one where I was like, okay, this is something that made a little more sense because it gave me those options. It wasn't just a thinking, it brought me back into the body part of it, and it brought me into the part where, frustration is my
Yes.
when I'm not in alignment. So I was like,
Yes.
oh, so when I'm trying to do something and I'm trying to push, because
Yes.
that's what I did, because growing up I was an A-type personality. I got things done, I did all that stuff, but
Yep.
I kept working out of alignment. And I didn't know this until I
Yep.
started looking more into my human design, which, by the way, listeners, if you are new to human design, it is a rabbit hole. You definitely have to put a timer on to go down that rabbit,
Yes.
because it is so extensive. And this is why I was like, oh, I love knowing about these things. But again, it takes time to know about it. And for me, it was like, okay, I was getting frustrated because it was such a big rabbit hole and I didn't, I
Yes.
wasn't an expert at it right away, which of course, that's just a me thing. But for somebody who is hearing this podcast is going, I've heard about this human design thing, but they're very new. They have no idea where to look. They have no idea that they think they might know their birth date and time and stuff like that. Where is the most, well, the easiest or the smoothest way for them to start this journey or to learn about it?
The easiest way is to go to a website and to get your chart. There are several people that do it. The ones that I started with are the ones that I mentioned. I started with Erin Claire Jones, then I went to Katie Irvine, and now I'm with Tressa Rivera. But I am part of all three communities because me and my managing energy, I get Erin is a projector, Katie is a manifester, and Tressa is also a manifester. I get different pieces from each community. So I absolutely love them, all three of them. They all three have their websites. My link tree will have a link to go to Genetic Matrix, which is a system that we use to get charts. So you can get your chart there for free. There's no commitment. And then once you get your chart, like I said, it will look like um, shapes and triangles and lines. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it looked like more like a biology
Yes,
diagram. So when
yes.
I first saw it, I was
It
like, what am
really,
I
it
looking at?
really does though. But it looks a little scary, but it's not. So at a very high level, when you look at the chart, uh, on the side, you would have two columns with gates and planets, just
Mhm.
like in astrology. Those numbers, they don't really, I find them that they're not super useful at the beginning if you're not really connected with your type, your strategy, and your authority. So by finding most of the charts that you will get, they will have those three pieces: your type, your strategy, which is how you will feel when you're in and out of alignment, and your authority, which is how you best make decisions. So just take those three pieces and experiment with them. And what that is like just reflect on past decisions, the good ones and the bad ones, and
Hmm.
find out what came up for you. Like me with my emotional authority, I can tell you that I knew when I was working from that high wave because I made really bad decisions, really bad ones. And I can tell you that the good ones because I waited. So it was really like a trial and error. So you just go there. Some people will sell like they have like different guides where it's like an explanation of your
Hmm.
design, and those were helpful. When I started, I bought the one from Aaron. It's called the Blueprint Guide, and
Okay.
I bought those ones for all four of us. It gives you practical language, and that's why I love hers, because it was very practical. It didn't have any human design jargon, which we can get into, like, you people can get really technical of it. But
Hmm.
to me, and what I have learned from the three people that I have studied under, is that if I can make it practical for you, then it's probably not going to resonate the best, because practicality is what we bring into our daily life, when we're going to work, and when
Yep.
we're making decisions about what to get rid of, like when you're finding out why the space maybe feels too crowded or why you're feeling out of alignment. So my goal as well is to make it practical for people, to make it just actionable in that moment, to because that's what he did for me, and I'm like, oh, I just love it so much. So you can get a guide from people, you can also get a guide from Genetic Matrix. And then if you're really like you're still wondering what it is, there's a lot of YouTube videos out there. The only thing I'll say is that human design doesn't tell you what to do or what not to do. It tells you how to do it your way. So, because I have heard, I did a reading with a person who had an open throat, and she was told that she couldn't do a podcast, I think. And that was it. She was like, I wanted to do a podcast, it was a dream of mine. And I was told in the reading that I couldn't do it because I had an open throat. And I'm like, oh, it was
Oh
so
no. I
disappointing.
was
Yeah,
about to
it
say,
was.
if you really wanted to do it, like that is something regardless. Like, and that's the thing, like it's not something to be like, a strict
Yes.
rule.
No, no,
It
no.
is, first of all, my biggest thing is listening to your body. Like if she really,
Exactly.
really wanted to do it and that brought her the joy, then yes, do it regardless of the reading.
Yes, and that's I think one of your podcasts that I listened, you were talking about the guru. The guru people that tell you what to do or what not to do. I think it was about the identity of the people that we no longer are, and that's exactly what it is. It's like someone from the outside, all of the answers are already in you. Like that everything is already there. It's just you're just peeling the layers of what people have said, the feelings, the shame that we have gotten from different experiences. So you're just like unboxing yourself. So like I said, human design doesn't tell you what to do or what not to do, it just tells you how you operate your best, how to do it your way. Because your way, if you are a projector, you will definitely not function the same way I do, because I am a manifesting generator. I move like a freaking hurricane sometimes. When I am excited about something, I will move the world. But it's a
And
project
time is of no value because you can work all day, all night.
all
I know,
day.
I've
Yes.
done this too. I am also a manifesting generator, and it's one of those things. But then all of a sudden, you just go, "Okay, I'm done," and that's it.
And that's it. And and that is it. And then you pivot. Sometimes you have you experienced those pivots too, where you're working on
Currently in
something
a
and
pivot right now, so yes.
I love it. I love it. So it's just a tool, and that's what I said. If you go on a trip, you're gonna have a backpack with your map, your sunglasses, your key for your hotel. Human design is a tool in the backpack of life. That is it. You can use it whenever you want to, or you don't. If it makes sense, please use it. If it doesn't, let it go. It's okay. There are many, many, many modalities that can help us move through the different challenges of life. but it helped me tremendously by knowing the charts of my children, the chart of my husband, and the connection charts, because that is one piece of human design. You can put two charts, up to five charts together, and you form
Mhm.
a penta. So in your family, and I don't know, like, as a listener, if you're thinking about it, if you're more in the, your children are grown, or, you yourself, when you moved out of your parents' house, all of a sudden you feel different. You feel like a different person. And that is because you no longer have the penta energy of your house. You no longer live with your parents. You no longer have your siblings. So the penta energy is super important, because people may bring connections that that are not necessarily yours per se, in the consistency part of it. That then, when you leave their energy, that energy is no longer there. So you're like, huh, I don't feel this anymore. And that's because it wasn't yours to begin with. So we get energy and from other people, and some different parts of our body just light up. It just kind of comes out, but it's just for a moment, because we are in the energy of other people.
So with that, with the whole family dynamic and stuff like that, have you noticed, which I'm sure most anyone that's in human design has noticed, are there two types, like opposite of each other, that when they're in a home, it really takes effort for that family to really get to know each other, really understand each other? Okay, she's shaking her head right now, so she definitely.
Yes, 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 there are. So when you get a family chart reading, and when you create a penta, there are some degrees of connection, you could say. So there are different types, and they have really weird names. I'm not going to say the names, because I don't know them all, but I can tell you the one that my husband and it's called Better 6 and 3, Better to Be Free. So what I know, like, it's just not,
That doesn't sound so good for a
it
marriage.
doesn't sound very positive, but again, this is why I love the people that I have studied under, because they have really studied the system, but also always reminding us that if it doesn't feel right for you, then it's not for you. Like, the system is
Mhm.
just that, a system. So it's just a tool. But when I started diving into that part of the connection, so what that means, it means that we have a lot of space between us as a couple.
Okay.
So we both have single definition. What that means is just we're very independent. Some people, it's single, split, triple split, quadruple split, and none. So that means, so a person that's a triple split, it means that they need more people, so their own energy in the chart flows together. So they need more time to maybe process things if they're alone. But when
Mhm.
they're in the presence of other people, like a coffee shop or like a bookshop, because I love them so much, then their energy, other people help them to connect all of it, right? My husband and I, we both have single definitions. So what that means is we have all of our energy is somehow connected in our bodies. So we're
And
very
that's
independent.
individually.
Yes,
Gotcha.
individually of each other. So we are independent. We are very much just do our own thing. But now, so when I learned that, I was like, and we've been together for 20 years, and I
Mhm.
have been a flight attendant since we met for those 20 years. So I know that our relationship would have not survived being together every day. I know that much, because the need for independence it's big, but also the space for us is big. So we have to be consciously coming together. It doesn't mean that we're not meant to be together. It just
It just
means that we
means that
have to
the
be
awareness
very,
of that.
yes,
Yeah.
and very intentional. So, and then there is like the chart that I have with my younger son. When we come together, all of our centers become defined. What that means is like we blend in, and we are the type that like two peas in a pot. Like
Okay.
we,
Yep.
all of it. And we can feel that because we are like in synchronicity with each other. It's
So is it
really,
okay? I'm going to use a jargon here. No, I may not be using it right, but your gates. Is it like your gate completes his gate type thing,
yes.
and that's how it works? Okay,
Yeah,
got
so
it.
some of his gates connect with mine, and then the pieces that I have white. So when you're looking at your graph, you're going to see some shaded pieces, some
Mhm.
of the shapes, and some are going to be white. So imagine beacons of sending and receiving information. When you have it colored in, it is consistent and it is something that you're going to feel all the time, and it is energy that you're going to send out into the world. If your shapes are white or have a few numbers light up, that is going to be that are open. And that is where you're going to be receiving energy from other people, but you are also going to be amplifying it. So this is key for, this was a life-saving tool for me because my kids have an open solar plexus. So my kids receive emotions and
Mhm.
amplify them. I send out emotions.
And I send them out to them.
Yes. So yeah, so let me go just finish the thought on Ari and I, that's my son, my younger son's name. So my openness, my white shapes connect with some of his gates and they become activated. So
Mm,
all of the 9 centers, when you look at our chart for connection chart, they're all activated. We have
wow.
definition in all of them. So you can tell with my older son, we have more connection than my husband and I, but not as many as many defined centers from my younger son. So our connections are a little bit different. You know, our relationships are different.
Yep.
So it just really it just really changed that for me. And then going back to the emotional piece, I had to really, that was the piece that really made a difference for me at the beginning. And this is why I fell in love with it, because I started to learn that how much I was affecting my children when my wave was low. And so in the emotional waves, there are 3 types of emotional wave. I have one that it's independent per se, in the
Right,
sense
independent.
that it just comes and goes. It's very melancholy. It comes and goes. There's no rhyme or reason. And in a society that it's obsessed with finding reasons, you know, being unhappy or sad or taking a day to just be, you know, just to sulk in some corner with a
Big baked
book.
potato
It's
type.
just, yeah, it's just not okay. So I was obsessed with always finding a reason and understanding that those waves, A, didn't have a reason, but B, understanding how they affected other people was really key for me to begin looking at what rituals I had in place to protect them. Because so if you have it open, you will most likely identify yourself as an empath. You have it open because you have a
Mhm.
sacral authority. So if it goes, they have some sort of hierarchy. So do you recognize when you get emotions that are like too much? Like, can you feel the difference when they're
So
not
I can
yours?
feel the difference when it's like, especially over the past years, it's the emotion that's so big, and I'm like, is this mine
Yeah.
or is this somebody else? And then of course I see, like, I go and usually check on my daughter, who is emotional generator, I think she is.
Okay, so she's emotionally defined. Yes.
So when it's something that I feel that a lot
Yep.
more,
Yes.
and I'm like, wait a second, this
Yes.
isn't even mine. Why do I feel this?
Yes. So this is fascinating because that's exactly what was happening. So I am emotionally defined. I will never know, nor do I think the universe was saying like you can barely handle your own emotions, so you cannot handle other people's emotions. Like it's just not for you.
Yeah,
So
this is not your lifetime for this.
this is not my lifetime, this is not my soul contract for this lifetime, so I am not doing it. But this is really important because what happens when people do not know that, if you didn't know that, there's a potential for you to get wrapped up in those emotions and act from those emotions because they can feel so big. It's just like a huge wave that comes over you, and it can feel just too big. So you don't even know you don't even know that they're not yours. And
Well, and
that
that's
is
how it was prior to ever even learning about
yes.
anything about me and, exploring like, okay, there's more to this and who am I? Like, because again, society tells you you're a certain way as you grow
Yes.
up, whether it's in your family or the church or whatever. So when I was learning more about me and getting to understand that, like you said, I've got that open emotional thing. So I'm
Yeah.
absorbing other people's emotions. And I
Indeed.
would have outbursts. I would think that was mean. I'd be like, oh, I'd feel the guilt. I'd feel the shame. And then all of a sudden I'd be like, wait a second, this isn't even mine.
Exactly. That is exactly right. So, so it's just learning those different pieces. And again, you don't have to go down the rabbit hole of human design, although I don't know, I wish everyone did because it changed our lives in so many ways. I am around a lot of people when I'm at the airports and stuff like that. So I notice how my kids were getting activated by other people's energies, right?
They're
So because they're open, right? So, and I can also feel how I have an open head, which is the very top piece shape is going to be a triangle.
Mhm.
That is an open head. That is called. It's all about ideas and inspiration. So I receive ideas. I mean, when I come home from a trip, from flying, I have all kinds of ideas, but they're not mine. They're
Yep.
someone else's inspiration. So my job is to not act on each and every one of them. And that was a very hard lesson for me to learn because I wanted to do it all. And I'm like, you can do anything, Julieta. You can do absolutely anything.
Yep.
But
It's that
you
pressure that we get from, and
yes,
all the
but
listeners the same way. It's like we want to achieve. We're built to, be the A class student and we're, you got to do. But then all of a
yes.
sudden it's like learning these things about the human design and about ourselves and how we move about the world. It's like, oh, no, you're not supposed to
Nope, you're
move like
not
that.
supposed to. Yep, you can do anything, but you cannot do everything. And
Yeah.
that was a huge moment of relief, like self-validation. So I just began experimenting and I study every day. I do readings. I've been doing readings since late 2022 for people. And I do readings for all kinds, but I concentrate on family readings because I do those homeschooling, home education through the lens of human design. So I help people plan their rhythms, right?
Oh, such a good combination.
To me, it was what came to me. It was just what I needed to succeed in our journey and to help us, move forward. But
Mhm.
it's the way how we communicate with each other, how I tell my children ahead of time, like, hey, this is what we're going to do. Because my oldest one needs a little bit more time if he's working on something, he has a 1-3 profile. That's the other piece. Once you find your three pieces, your type, your strategy, and your authority, there is a piece that I really love, and it's the profile. A profile is going to be a fraction looking number. It's going to be like a 1-3, you're a 3-5, I'm
Yep.
a 4-6. And each line has a different energy. My oldest son has a 1-3 that is a experimenting and a going deep type of energy. So if he's really into something and I pull him out without notice, frustration will set in. Which
Yep.
which is like everything. You don't even have to use human design. If you're in the middle of something and someone else comes and just pulls you, yanks you out of it, I mean,
Without warning, without the
without
5-minute
warning,
countdown or
yeah, I
whatever. Yep.
mean, frustration is going to sit in no matter what, no matter who you are, no matter what type. But it's really important for me to do that because that is just a way to collaborate and to be understanding of that. So that helped me see that. My younger son it's a 5-1. So at the 5 is the projection feel. And I wonder how has your experience been with that 5 line about the projection feel?
I haven't really gone into that part. I was more like
Okay.
as soon as I read about the 3
The
where
3, yeah.
I had to experience
Yes.
whatever it is that I'm doing, hence what I've done my entire life. And because a lot of it goes back to why do I have to do this again? And then of course, looking back, it's like, oh, because that's the way you're designed. In order
Yeah,
for you
you
to
need
teach about it,
you need
to
to
help
experience it
others,
yourself.
I have to experience it. And
Yeah.
that's literally what my business is all about. I have literally everything I've ever done is because of something I've experienced, the
Yeah.
way I've put myself into it. So that I've focused more on. So the 5, if you could explain that, because I want to know, first of all, because it's part of mine, but also for any of the listeners who also see themselves as that as well.
Yeah, so the 5, it's like a projection field. So the people explain it the way it's like, imagine you live in a house and you are in the second floor and you're just doing your thing, but the curtains are closed. So no one can see that you are getting ready to go to bed. And then here comes someone and says, well, are you ready to go to the festival? And you're like, no, I'm getting ready to go to bed. And then they get upset because you're not ready to go to the festival. Like, how can you? So the projection field is like they see your potential and they want you to do things that they expect you to do because they know that you can do them and they do not know, like they don't really see you per se. So you're here to solve problems, but you're only here to solve and impact strangers. Actually, that's also a big piece of the 5. You impact strangers. Whereas me with a 4, I impact people in my network. And that was another huge piece. So, so it's like people don't really see you. So they project their needs, their expectations on you, but you're not, and sometimes you can get caught up in it. For my little one, so a 5-1, for him, it's like you can also mirror people. So I don't know, like,
Yeah, that I can see. That I've seen where if it's a big enough crowd or if it's enough times it's like I mirror it and I'm like, wait, this isn't even mine. Why am I doing this?
yes. And some people may not be happy with what they see because you're showing a piece of themselves. So
Yeah, I
people
noticed
may
that in
not.
relationships.
Yeah. Okay. See, so it all really, so if you are ready to like dive a little deeper into explore that, so you can get a reading with a person that you feel safe, a person that resonates with you, that might have gone through some experiences that you have been through. There are many practitioners, but it's integration, that memory, recognizing when that was happening, and that gives you the freedom to move forward on your own terms. And that's why the profile piece, I find it to be very practical and very actionable at the beginning too, because I'm a 4-6. So the 4, again, is about networking. So my opportunities come from people that know me. And then
Okay.
the 6 is about, it's a role model. So what it is basically a little bit similar to the 3, but also different. It's a more sensitive. You have built-in resilience to keep on trying. The 3 is like, yeah, I'm
It
gonna
has
keep
to be.
on.
Yes.
Yeah, like you have resilience. The 6 and the 4, I am very sensitive to rejection. And I do not, and I mean, I knew that, but learning how human design, like how that piece shows up in my chart has been giving me the strength to go through it, because it was a big piece of when I was a child. And so there was a lot of healing there because of my mom. So there's a saying that says the 4, they're supposed to be best friends with their parents, and this, I learned this maybe about a year ago when I heard someone talk about this and I experienced it. I was like, I don't know. And we talked about it, we went through it, and I felt the disconnect with my mom since very early on, I think from even before. That's why I was drawn to nervous system regulation, because even from before I was born, there's just some pieces there that I think I'm still carrying. But the 4 and the 6, they're just, I'm just a sensitive soul. I'm just a sensitive soul. But my incarnation cross, so that's another piece that you will go, that incarnation cross is about the top 2 numbers, 2 gates from each column. So you're going to have a red and a black column, and they're going to have numbers. And those ones, the top two left and the top two right, will do this incarnation cross. And it has a theme. I think there's 190 something of them. There's a lot of
So
them.
we won't go over all of those
No.
on the podcast.
Yes, but but that again, that's also a piece that says that that's what we came here to do. But if the first three pieces about making decisions and how you resonate with your type, if that is really not in like, in a good working order, if you don't resonate with it, then the incarnation cross is not going to make sense either, because
And again,
you
it
won't
goes back to
resonate.
the take what resonates and then leave the rest type
And then
thing.
leave the rest. For me, my incarnation cross is about provocation. And I was like, I don't want to be provoking people. Like, no.
Like,
Like,
I'm emotional enough and I do not take rejection well.
yes.
Provoking people is just going to cause that to be worse.
I mean, it's just not going to go for me. It's not going to go well. So I've been really working with that. And I notice how I do that when I talk about, autonomy for children, or, family systems or stuff like that. So, but I've been working a lot with it because it's been taking time. So it's integration. I was introduced to human design in 2021, and I've been integrating different pieces ever since. It's you build capacity, when you talk about the body and the nervous system. I think that was the topics that you were asking guests for. I felt like human design gave me the capacity to stretch out my nervous system, because my nervous system was not in any way, shape, or form ready to do the work. So because I learned about manifest and generator, so I learned to let go of people's criticism for wanting to try too many things, and for not finishing the thing.
Yes, because we're very good starters. And it's like, okay, then we can get bored or just go, okay, I'm done.
Yes.
And move on to the next.
And that I see it in my son, so for our home environment, it is the understanding that whenever he says he's done, then that's it. So there's no shame in saying you should finish, and there's no shame in saying you should go through it all the whole thing.
Yeah, from beginning, middle, and end.
From beginning, and I'm like, nobody does the whole process. So all of that, it just really made sense. And I feel like I lost my train of thought. But you were talking about the nervous system. Yeah. So the capacity. So human design gave me the capacity to expand on my nervous system, because I had to go through it. I had to remember what it was like to be a child, that I needed to be a perfectionist. I mean, I was always a straight A student. So I needed human design to build capacity to go through the problems that I had, the situations that I had with my mom, and the lack of relationship, and to understand that may never be how other people see the relationship with their parents. Human design gave me the capacity to remember some things, because they say, like, I don't really remember, I don't have a lot of memories from when I was like younger than 6. And that is usually a trauma response where you don't remember. My childhood wasn't bad per se, but it was enough to trigger some physical conditions, because I wasn't releasing my
nervous system, like we were talking about.
Yeah. So it was a tool. It has been working side by side with me. I go in and out of it. But obviously it's part of how I live life. And I don't, now I take time to make decisions. I feel my wave. I work a lot with the moon cycles. In your podcast, you also mentioned the moon cycles, how we have cycles. So those cycles have been really important. It's just really, it's a tool, but it's a tool that really resonated with me, and it changed my life. I mean, I honestly, physically, mentally, and spiritually, I don't think I would be here, because my waves are extremely low. Like, really low.
Well, I am so glad that you did find it, because again, it's like you said, it's a tool, but for some people, it's a tool that just, it gives you permission. Like for us, it gives us that permission to be that multi-talented, to, for other people, it's like, oh, why are you doing so many things? It's like, because that's makes me who I am.
Yes.
As opposed to somebody else trying to project their stuff onto you. And you're just like, that ain't me.
Exactly. And,
Yeah.
to understand that whenever we have that many things that keep us in satisfaction mode, we actually have more energy.
Yeah.
So that energy just flows out of us whenever we are in that satisfaction mode. Now, that's not how everyone is assigned to work, and that's okay. But
Yeah.
for me to not feel bad because of that, I was like, I mean, it was huge for me because I was shamed constantly because of that. And I'm like, I love learning and I love, taking classes and exploring new things. And I know if I don't finish one thing, it may not be right now, but I may come back to it if I learn something else. So I'm always like, in and out. I'm like a bee. I'm like, bees are great. I mean, they go from flower to flower and just, they
They
give.
make the honey, they do the thing, and then that's it.
Yes. I'm like, I'm a freaking bee. So I just love it. But yeah, so you just start with the basics, don't get overwhelmed. If you are in the thick of it with your physical space, it's probably a sign that that's how it is in the inside. But just do one corner at a time. Same thing with the piece, when I changing the environment for us is key as well. And that really reflects on some of your human design pieces, how you relate to your environment. And that is
Mhm.
fascinating because our environment just tells a lot from where we are. And I love, human design it can give you an opening into doing a lot of changes that are probably due and that you probably want to. So yeah.
Yes, perfect. Well, that is actually a perfect segue for me to ask you about the 4-pillar finish that I ask all my guests.
Yes.
And for all the listeners listening, if they're new or just getting started, where can they start, or what is something that they can change in their mind, their body, their soul, and their home in order to incorporate human design into their life?
Oh my goodness, such great questions. And I feel like I have a book for each one of them, but let's just go slow. Okay. So your home, I'm going to start at the bottom. Your home is clean a corner of your space that is just for you. Just separate
Mm.
whether it's a little corner, whether it's outside, inside, doesn't matter. Just a little corner where you can go in and release everyone else's energy. Just you. Yes, just a little space just for you. That's it. The soul, love yourself and put a picture of yourself when you were a child. Put it in a little, is that you? Is that you
I'm
or?
yeah, the listeners can't see, but yes, this is me right
Okay.
here,
Yep.
right behind. There's a little
That
picture.
is
I will
beautiful.
actually post it on socials.
Yes. So put a picture of yourself when you were a child and let that child guide you and tell you how loving and worthy you are of everything that you desire.
Mm,
Talk to your inner child and let your inner child talk back to you through the picture, the moments, the rituals, the good and the bad times, because you are so worthy of it. So, yes, the soul picture of your inner child. And yes, so that's that. The mind, it's okay to say no. Just just say no. If you feel it and your mind starts, but you should do it, but you should do it, but you should do this because of this. And no, it's okay to say no. Just say no. Just shut it down and just say no. The body, drop into it. Drop into your drop
mm,
into your body. Drop yourself into your body and feel the blood that circulates through your veins. Slow down enough to feel your joints, to feel your fingers, to feel your toes, to feel your hair, and drop into your body and let the body show you where you need to go. That's it.
those were beautiful, and especially that last one. Slow down enough to do that, because
Yes.
a lot of the listeners I know are the type that are the go, go, go. And that is one of the biggest
Yeah.
hurdles they have, is that slowing down. But
It's
slowing down doesn't mean you lose your edge. It just means that you're coming into the now. So thank
yes.
you so much for this. I know we could have probably gone on for well over another hour talking about this.
Yes, we could
Like I
have.
said, listeners,
I love
human
this
design.
topic.
Yes, as I say, human design. I've loved this topic. I'm going to probably dive into it again as we're done this recording, because one of the few things that I was like, "Oh, 5. I want to learn more about that." Because yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing and hearing more about you. And all of the links that were discussed in this podcast episode will be in the show notes. So listeners, do not worry about that. If you're trying to take down notes and stuff, I will make sure that those links that everyone that she was talking about will be in the show notes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
Perfect. See you later.